Hi everyone, and welcome back to Ms. Paws Companion Foods and Services YouTube. Today we're working on our third video, and hopefully we're going to accomplish vitals. I mentioned in the last video how I was going to get a dog, so I called Jordan from Exotic Boerbels and I said, hey, can I come pick up a puppy? So I do have a little helper today, but problem is this puppy is tired and asleep right now and hasn't woke up since we got here. So we'll see how this goes. I'll wake her up and we'll see what we can do there. But we're going to continue on and start with vitals. I won't bother her for the vitals part because she's a pupper, so I'm going to explain it for small dogs and little dogs as well. So we'll get into that in just 1 second. Let's begin our vitals check. So we're going to start with our bandaged dog here. Remember, this dog is okay, we promised from the last time. And then we're going to go on to our little kitty friend, who's not much different at all, but we don't leave the cats out. So we'll get to that in a second. Cheese. So we're going to start with vitals. The first thing we're going to do is I'll show you how to do a heart rate on our friend. And I told you, I brought out my stethoscope so you know it's time to get serious. So in order to check our heart rate, we have to find the heart. And our friend's going to lay like this because it's always easier. Here we're going to put our stethoscopes in. And remember, they always go to our nose because that's the more we nose. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. All right. So we're going to start with our heart rate. You'll place your stethoscope underneath, or you can always use 2 fingers. But since I have the stethoscope, I'll begin here. The stethoscope will go right up under. We'll check for a heart rate. We'll let this go on for 15 seconds. And then whatever number we'll get, we'll multiply that by 4. And that'll be our average heart rate for our friend here. So for the average heart rate for a dog should be anywhere between 60 and 180 beats per minute. Especially if you have a puppy like I had last time. It may be a little bit faster, but you don't want anything over 220 beats per minute. The next thing that we're going to check is we're going to do our temperature, but again, not on our friend here. So I'll just tell you, the average temperature for a dog is 99.5 to 102.5. You don't want to go anything higher than that. If you get to temperatures higher than 102.5, raising up to 104, you want to seek immediate veterinary attention. Later on videos, we'll get to how to cool down their core if you need to do any of that, especially for those hot summer days outside when they're working up and they got the sun outside and all the elements can definitely warm their bodies up. So we'll give you the things to look out for that later, and also to how to cool their body down if it gets too hot. So now that we basically done vitals for our dog, we only have to do our heart rate. Oh, also we have respirations. So respirations is normally easily found when the animal is laying on their side. So we'll get that started there. When they're laying on their side, you want to look for the rise and the fall. The rise and the fall. And you'll see it happen naturally, or you can also put your hand on there to feel it. But you want to check those, and they should be anywhere between 10 to 30 breaths per minute. You just want to check for that rise and fall. Again, depending on if the pup is younger, like the one I had earlier, it'll be a lot faster. If it's older, it'll be slower. So this is the average for most adult animals that I'm going to give you of dog species. So next we're going to do the cat. And for our little friend here, I'll just go over the vitals and give you an example. So for a cat friend, again, we have our heart rate as well. The heart rate for cats is going to be much, much faster than dogs. That can go anywhere from 140 beats per minute all the way up until 220 beats per minute. The max on the cats is going to be 240 beats per minute. That's the maximum you want to have on a cat. I know they're little and they have small bodies, so their heart rate is a lot faster, but it can be a such thing as too fast. So for the heart rate, I told you that. And then next you have the temperature. The temperature of a cat is going to be slightly higher than the dog. It'll be anywhere from 100.5 degrees Fahrenheit, again, to that 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything higher than that, you want to seek veterinary attention. And then I'll teach you in later videos how to cool down that temperature if need be. So that's it for vitals. Again, I'll put up a quick review and we'll go over those things again at the end of the videos like we always do. Just wanted to cover the general vitals. So then we'll move on into our head to toe checkup with our puppy. So we're going to go over a head to tail checkup before we bring in our puppy, just so in case things get crazy, you'll have an understanding of what's going on, and then we'll put into action just like we did last time. I'll tell you what's going on, and then I'll demonstrate. So starting with the head to tail checkup, we have to start, of course, with the eyes. The first thing you want to check for with the eyes is you want to put your finger up to their face, and if, when they're staying still, you want to put their finger there and you just want to track. You just want to make sure that they can follow your fingers back and forth. You want to also check for any debris or anything inside of the eyes. You can see if there's something in there by if they're blinking, if they're pawing at their eyes. And also the way to check if they do have an indication that there's something in their eye, you can use a simple eye wash. Using an eye rinse like this one that I have here is really gentle on the eyes, and it won't hurt if they do have a corneal ulcer or a scratch on it. The key difference to tell whether it's a corneal ulcer or a scratch is that when you put in the eye wash, if it doesn't flush out and move, then it's not fur and it could indicate a problem. At that point, you don't want to add anything else to the eyes. You definitely want to make a veterinary appointment. So I'll briefly demonstrate how to do that. When you do have your companion, you'll take the eye wash and you'll have their head tilted sideways. We'll use this. You'll take the companion, you'll have their head tilted sideways, and you want to make sure that it's going to run out the corners of their eye. So you'll put the drops in, and then all of the debris will run out the corners of their eye, and then you'll do the same thing for the other side. The drops will go in, and then all of the debris will run out the other side. So the next thing that we're going to do for our head to tail checkup is we're going to work on the ears. The ears, again, as I was saying, they should be clear of any smell. They may have a little debris as a wax, because just like us, they also get wax in their ears too. But you want to check the smell for any yeast, and you also want to check for any redness. This can indicate that he may have symptoms of an ear infection, and at that point you again want to go to a veterinarian, as I always am going to say, just to make sure that they're doing okay. But if you do have any typical debris inside of their ear, you can always wash that out as well. So we'll show you how to do that. What you want to do in order to wash their ears out is I have this ear wash here. What the ear wash you're going to do is you're going to take your companion, hold up their ears. Floppy ear dogs, you also want to check twice a week. Doggies with their ears straight up, the airflow has more a chance to clear out the bacteria, so no yeast typically forms in their ears like the dogs with floppy ears. So you definitely want to check if your friend has floppy ears like mine. So in order to do the ears, you'll lift it up. Again, you'll pour the solution inside of the ears. It'll fill up in the ear canal, and then you'll give it a good squishy, squishy, squish. Squishy, 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 squish. Instead of using a cotton swab, because they're not supposed to go in our ears either, you use a 4x4 gauze or a cotton ball. You'll place it inside the ear, and you'll make sure you get all that debris out. You'll keep wiping the ear for debris, and then once it comes out clean, you'll know that you've done your job. You also want to make sure that when you're done with this, that the ear is clean and dry. Leaving moisture in the ear could cause a bacterial infection or an ear infection, so you do want to make sure that that ear is nice and clean and then dry when you're done. So the next thing that we're going to work on is our nose. For our nose, you want to make sure that our nose is a happy medium. You don't want it too moist, or you don't want it too dry. You don't want it dripping like they have a cold, because they can get sick, but you also don't want it super dry where it's cracked or anything as well. Especially in the winter times, you want to watch out for this, because this can happen with the dry air. They're walking around putting their nose in the cold, and it can get cracked. Ways to prevent this is using chapstick like we use, and just putting it over in their nose when they go outside as a protectant, just to make sure everything will be fine there. The next thing we're going to do is go over their mouth. Their mouth should always be, the mouth should be clear of any pains or anything. So you really just want to touch around to make sure that they don't have any sensitivities inside of their mouth. If they're puppers like the one I had, I'll check for a cleft palate, just to make sure that everything's forming there properly, and we won't have any issues, any dietary issues, any teeth issues further on in the pup's life. Another thing that you can do at this time is you can check for the capillary refill time. You can also check for mucous membranes. Those two things check blood perfusion and oxygenation. Those are important to know the hydration of your animal, and also to know that their oxygen and blood flow is going properly, so they have enough oxygen in order to sustain all their organs. So the way to check that, you'll take your finger and you'll press it right there on your teeth. And I have pigmented teeth, some animals do too, but you'll see a slight color change. It's like when you press your finger down and you can see the color change. It's something just like that. So as long as that flashes back within 2 seconds, you have a healthy pup with great oxygenation, and you don't have to worry about whether he's not dehydrated or get enough flow into his other organs. The mucous membranes, as I mentioned, is the color inside. I have pigmented teeth, so you have to test my color on another section. You can also test it by their ear as well. That there, you're going to check their blood perfusion to make sure they have enough circulation going. Those two go hand in hand. So with the mouth, as we're going to move on from the mouth, and then we're going to go to the abdomen. So while checking the abdomen, you want to make sure that everything is palatable. You don't want to have any firm spots. It can indicate that one of the organs may be having an issue. A tumor may be formed. A tumor could be forming, and there's several other things that can be indicated. But again, we aren't diagnosing anything at all. We're just checking. We're going to write these down, and we're going to keep noting our companions just to make sure that we have a baseline as their parents and as their caretaker, and that we're going to continue forth to do these things. That if we do find a problem, when we go to the veterinarian, we'll have all the information that we need in order to have a great appointment, give them all the information, because the more information you give the veterinarian, the way better chance we have at helping your companion through an issue, and it won't be a long drawn out process. Remember, our friends can't talk, so they don't have any symptoms that they can tell us about. They just have signs. So we have to look for these things in order, and you being their pet parent with all these great skills, you're going to be able to know what's going on, to notice the differences, be able to write that down, and then go to the veterinarian and be that advocate for your companion, because you are everything that they have. So continuing on, we're going to do the abdomen. So in order to do the abdomen, we're going to make sure everything is nice and palatable. You're going to move your fingers about, and you're going to not squeeze, but you're just going to put a little pressure just to make sure that everything is moving around. So you want to check everything all through there. Make sure it's all moving around here. Make sure everything's going. And this is also a good time too if you want to check their lymph nodes. They have lymph nodes all through their body just like we do. They have some key lymph nodes if you want to check those. You have the submandible lymph node just like us. It's right under there, so you can check that, and everything should be about a pea size. If you see anything bigger, again, you're going to write that down. You're going to track it just to make sure that they don't have any issues. You have the axillary, which is right under their armpits just like us. They have their axillary lymph nodes here. You want to make sure that those, again, aren't too big and they're nice and pea size. You also want to check their popliteal one as well. This one is right around their legs. You can feel it on the inside, down their thigh. They have the popliteal lymph node. And then they also have an inguinal lymph node. That's more so the feeling of when you're checking their heart rate. If you go a little bit deeper, you'll feel that lymph node right inside of there as well. So those are the lymph nodes. You can do a quick check on that just again to track, and you want to make sure that everything's good, they're baseline healthy, and if you do find that you have an issue, go back in your notes, take it to the veterinarian, and you guys can tackle the problem together because you did everything you need to do and you have all the great skills. So the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the legs. You want to make sure that they have a great range of motion. A lot of animals, depending big and small, can have some hip and joint issues. They can have spinal issues, things that can be genetic or that they just pick up from walking around and moving so much. They're little and then they grow big. Some stay small, but they have a different body structure than us that can have a different issue. So you want to make sure they have a great range of motion, and then I'll show you how to do all that. So you want to have your companion, you want to stretch out a paw, check it, check the range of motion. If you want to flip it up, you want to flip it back and make sure that everything moves about perfectly there. Oh man. You gotta sit more pretty. Okay, just go to sleep. And then you're going to do the same thing with the back legs. The back legs, you're going to push it up. You're going to go all around in a nice circle. You don't want to yank because you don't want to hurt any bones, but you want to move them around. See how they go. So you're going to pull the paw back. You're going to pull it forward just to make sure that their range of motion is going just fine and they don't have any sensitivities. Now again, if they do have any sensitivities, you will feel a jerk back. You might get a grimace. You might get a snarl. But that's just letting you know, Mom, something's wrong. You know, could you check that out for me? Maybe write that down, because they can't speak, but you know them. You know your pet the best. You guys communicate all day long, and you'll be the best advocate for them once you get to the veterinarian. So after you did all your legs for your range of motion, you make sure all those things are moving about perfectly fine there. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to check their paws. Their paws, again, like their nose, goes through a lot. They sniff with their nose and they walk with their paws. So those things, two things, are being worked out all the time. And again, as I said, it's cold outside, so you do want to make sure that if you're taking your companion outside, that you're putting boots on them if you can, that you're putting a product on them like I use called Must Your Secret. Must Your Secret is a great product that I found that I even use on myself. It's made out of vegetable-based product, and you can use it for their cracked paws to protect them in the winter, but you can also use it in the summertime too to prevent them from getting burns on their feet. Also, again, I mentioned you can put a little bit on their nose to prevent the cracked dryness from the wintertime and them digging their noses in the snow. The last thing that we're going to do from our head to tail checkup is our tail. People don't understand that the tail is an extension of the spine, and if something's going wrong here, it's all started up here. They have different vertebrae that you can press down just to make sure, slightly press down, just to make sure you don't have any pain or any grimaces. Make sure that they do have a little nub tail, that it doesn't have any injuries to it. They can break bones in that, which can then cause other issues with the hips and joints, and then also lead into any spinal injuries as well. So that'll be our complete nose to tail checkup. You want to make sure that your companion is always safe and happy. You want to write these things down. You want to take notes. Again, we aren't diagnosing anything, y'all. We're just going to be that advocate so that when we do need to go to the veterinarian, we want to make sure that everything we have is down packed and we know exactly what we're talking about because we've learned all these skills. We're a great pet parent, a great caretaker, and we're going to make sure that they get the best service because we provided all the answers possible. So, look who woke up. So, she was woke up accidentally. My neighbors came in and woke her up from her little pumpy slumber. So I said I might as well get it over with now while she's awake and obviously ready for the camera. So we're going to get started with the head to tail checkup. And we're just going to go over eyes, ears, nose, and everything in between to the tail. And then I'll show you what to look for, different signs, and then how to do a head to tail checkup. So let's get started on that. First things first. This is our pupper, and the first thing we're going to do is our eyes and our head to tail checkup. So what we'll do here, if you want to look at our eyes, I know, you'll look at their eyes and you just want to make sure that there's no debris inside of it. You want to make sure that both pupils are the same size, and you want to make sure that there's not anything that's constricting them from their vision. So you want to watch for any blinking or anything that can indicate that there could be something inside of their eyes. Right? Right. So the next thing we're going to do for our head to tail checkup is we're going to do the ears. And for the ears, you want to check the smell, you want to check the color as well, and you want to check for any general debris. Dogs can get waxed, so you just want to make sure they're not too waxy, and if they have a smell, that it's not yeast or anything like that. So let's do our ears. I know. So her ears look pretty good. They have a little bit of wax in them, but she's a puppy running around outside all day, so that's expected. What you want to do then is you can get some ear wash and you can flush those out, and I'll show you how to do that with the demonstration dogs instead. We don't want to work her up too much. She's so sleepy. So the next thing we're going to do during our head to tail checkup is we're going to do her nose. People always think that noses should be sloppy wet. They shouldn't be too wet, but they should be a happy medium. So you just want to run your fingers across it. Make sure it's not too dry, it's not too wet, and that everything's working there. They also can get chapped, especially in the wintertime. So you want to make sure of any of that. And you can also put some chapstick on their nose just to make sure to protect it out in the cold, especially when it's snowy outside. I know. You also want to check their mouth too, especially since they're puppies. Some puppies form a cleft palate, and you'll just check the roof of their mouth just to make sure that it's formed correctly and everything in there looks great for her, so you don't have any of those problems there. The next thing we'll do for our head to tail checkup is we'll go ahead and we'll work all the way through the abdomen, just checking for any hard spots. We're going to make sure everything's palatable, that her organs are on the right places that they need to be, and that she has no sensitivities or any issues with movement there. So we'll check all that. We'll palpate the abdomen and watch her face to make sure for no grimaces. no pain faces, no snapbacks, no teeth growls. So everything looks fine there. Everything seems in place. Good to go. The next thing we'll do too is we'll do her legs, and also we'll do the range of motion. This especially for bigger breed dogs like her, you want to make sure that they have a great range of motion. They have common issues of hip dysplasia and things like that, but also you can prevent those by working the dog out, feeding them a balanced diet, and also making sure they're not overworked and that they get to grow at a proper rate. That's also why I said nutrition is the key too, because you want to make sure that the calcium to phosphorus rate is great so they can grow at a good level, which the calcium to phosphorus processes bone cells in order for everything to grow big and strong. But we'll get into that later, don't worry. So we'll work on her legs and range of motion. Which way you want to face? So what you want to do is pick up a leg, stretch it out, see how it goes. Pick up a leg, stretch it out, see how it goes. That seems good. Do the same thing with the front. Pick up a leg, stretch it out, see how it goes. Whoa, puppies can fly. So range of motion looks great. You don't have any issues there. And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to check for the paws. Same thing as I said for the nose. It's the winter time. It's Cleveland where I am. I don't know where you are, but it gets cold and hot and cold and hot. But it also gives a chance for frostbite on their paws. So you want to check the bottom of their paws for any cracked paws. You want to make sure that you don't have any sensitivities on their little feet. These are just like their hands, so they can get damaged, they can get rough. You might notice that they might be biting at their paws or anything like that. That's an indication that something could be going wrong. So again, just like the nose, you can also put a product I like to use called Musher Secret. Musher Secret is a great product that I use as chapstick as well to put on their paws, their nose, and also my lips in the wintertime walks, just to make sure that we're both safe and protected. So the last thing we're going to do, like I said, it's a head to tail checkup. So we're going to do the tail, and I know she has a little stub here, but the tail is an extension of the spine. And what you want to make sure is that the tail is movable and that you don't have any sensitivities here. All this is connected together. So a sensitivity here can indicate something going wrong with the vertebrae here as well. So you want to make sure that all that's going just great. So that was a very, very quick head, but again, like, we're going to get her out of here. We're going to get her back home to her mommies and her brothers and sisters so she can go to bed. But I do appreciate her. Thank you for her hard work. Also, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do our first contest. Believe it or not, as cute as she is, she still needs a name. So the first person to give me a name that I fall in love with will include a special prize that I'll tell you about later. But for now, thank you for watching Ms. Paws Companion Foods and Services Head to Tail Checkup with the pretty girl here who just needs a name. And thank you again. Always make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And then next time, we'll see you guys later, and I'll tell you all that we're going to do. Alright, so I talked about the contest of who's going to name the puppy. So this is what the winner will receive. Available on Amazon, Big Dogs Have More Fun. I decided to make my own notebooks. This one is a first of the year planner, so you can go all year long planning everything that you need on time, scheduled in an organized fashion. The winner of who names the dog with the cutest name, I'll ship it right to your house, and you'll have this notebook designed especially by me for free. So don't forget, leave a name in the comments. You can always use my Instagram at Ms.PawsCompanionFoodsandServices, the winner, and we'll let you know in the next video.